They are now Night in the City. 50 years ago, BBC Radio broadcast a groundbreaking portrait of life after dark in urban Britain, with stories of tramps, gypsies, insomniacs and street thugs. Now we've gone out into that shadow world again to hear how much and how little has changed. 1955 and 2005 meet in the darkness of Night in the City.
You're walking along the streets and you're seeing all the lights on and you're just wishing to yourself, oh, if only I could get in there, you know. You're walking about all night looking at things.
You do see the slime oozing out of the doorways in Soho and Shaftesbury Avenue all around there, yeah. You do get some very unpleasant characters, drunks, but I try not to stop for those.
Night in the city. It's deserted and cold, but on the brick croft, round the watchman's fire, in the shadows of the warehouse, there are people talking. People caught up in the restlessness and loneliness of the city night.
I heard a siren from the dark, saw a train set the night on fire, smelt the spring on the smoky wind, dirty old town, dirty old town.
The streets are almost empty, the city almost asleep. Two drunks pester a taxi driver, but it's all in his night's work. Once the pubs and dance halls have shut, he said, there's nothing to do. Nevertheless, people come from neighbouring towns in the hope of a night out.
I've said to them, well, I can't see why you've come here for a night out. There's no here. And they've said, well, where we come from, there's no there.
Heard a siren from the docks, saw a train set the night on fire, smelled the spring on the smoky air. Dirty old town, dirty old town.
Tonight and Up All Night, in-your-face policing. The police chief of Miami-Dade County in Florida explains why his officers plan to be as obvious as they can.
Day work doesn't suit me, hence this, the black cab. My ball and chain. Having worked 20 years in the casino business, your metabolism, I suppose, adjusts to working evenings, you know. When I did get made redundant, I used to go to bed with my wife around about 10:30. Waste of time. I used to just lie awake until 2 or 3, get up and go out on my motorbike or do the crossword or something. So consequently, I cannot go to bed to get up at, say, 7 o'clock and do a normal day job. Not anymore. It's finished. I just can't do that. I tend to just go into a kind of semi-dazed stupor around about 10:30. Really is grim. So rather than fight it, I do this. It's terrible. I must have vampire blood in me or something. Who knows?
And so the night passes in between fares.
I don't enjoy doing it. It's not stimulating. It's boring. When you get to a certain age, you're unemployable, and shelf stacking at B&Q's probably doesn't matter what you've got going for you. We get to a certain age, and that's all you can end up doing. And I did try to get back into accountancy, but unfortunately they invented this little gadget from the time I used to do it and to the time I wanted to get back into it, and it was called a computer. And I had no idea.
Oh, there's a call now. Hello? Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. Basically, my name's Leon. I'm 19. I've got a smooth body with suntan, a six-pack, etc. I guess it's the same like with taxi drivers, you know, getting asked that question over and over again because you're meeting different people every time. And with me being an escort, it's kind of the same thing because when I go on a job, you know, I get asked, you know, how long have you been doing this for, you know, do you really enjoy it, have you got a boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. If someone needs to come around to me, no problem. I love the city at night. The city's best at night. The best thing is the unexpectedness. You don't know who's going to be behind your door. And you just don't know whether it's a hotel room door, whether it's your door, no matter what door. And you don't know who it's going to be, you know, so I don't actually think, oh my God, it could be a mad, you know, axe murder or something like that. I never actually do worry about that, I must say. What excites me is the fact that it could be a billionaire who leaves a grand tip just casually, or it could be someone that's worked in a fish and chip shop and someone that has, you know, saved up for 3 months and this is their treat. Feel free to give me a call back anytime. Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
In the stories you hear, mother is almost always the loved parent. It's father that gets the blame.
I came out a bit about being gay and I told my dad. I mean, I come from a normal background, really normal background. It's like, this sort of thing is like very, very taboo. But the escort thing, no way would he accept that. Oh my God. But if he did find out, he'd go into one. He's like a builder and a farmer putting together. That's his occupations. Like, they're the worst sort of people you can be gay around for a start. You know, I think about that sometimes when I watch, like, Trisha. I think, God, you know, it'd be great to take my dad on there. How sad. You know, very sad, I wouldn't do it. But, like, you know, oh my God, he'd go into one. So he's really narrow-minded vision, you know, he's really proper conservative, proper hideous, actually. If I had kids, you know, I wouldn't want them to be you know, we all think that, don't we, when it comes to our own. Of course, little did I understand, you know, that I actually really enjoy it. And the hours are great. And the money's fantastic, so why'd I want to quit?
And so the night passes, but the drifters have no work and sometimes no bed. Talking helps to fend off the loneliness of the night.
I can still go home, but they'll give me anything. They'll give me a feed, they'll give me a clean change of clothing, they'll give me the last shilling, but they won't take no chance in me stopping there. I've let them down that often.
When you're living on the streets, you're not a member of society. You're kind of the invisible. It's like people see you, but don't actually see you.
I've gone home and I've worked steady for a fortnight, and I've suddenly got a few pounds in my pocket. I've been away in the booze again, and away I go again.
When I first arrived, I can remember sitting where the Statue of Liberty is and just looking around, and it was just bright lights. And I'm thinking to myself, I'll never forget, wow, I'm in London. I don't have parents screaming and shouting. I don't have brothers and sisters moaning. And that was me. I was in my element. It was only at later stages that you know, the struggle to survive was the hardest. When I have what I call mad moments, I make up a poem. I call this as sunset fades. As roses close, their sharpened thorn defend against the blackest night. Owls just smile. My mother was an addict. I love my mum, but, you know, her being an addict, I always say she'd done the best what she could. When I ran away from home the second time, I hadn't seen my mum for so long, over 30 years. And I was 51 when I saw my mum, and 6 months later she died. So, but the one thing she did say was that I had achieved something that she couldn't do. I'd kicked the drugs. The thing that I think that I've achieved the most is that my mum was proud of me. This multicoloured shade of life, all do whisper, this day was over far too soon.
Dirty old town, dirty old town.
And then another sort of man you meet, but not so often, an aristocrat of the road, a gypsy. To him, the wandering life is the natural one.
Well, it's what you're brought up to. It's just same as you being brought up to your way of living, you see. It's our way of living, and it's a nice way of living. It's a good way of living, a healthy way of living.
My people are Tinslets, and they provided everything that was possible to provide for the settled community, from a saucepan to a plate, basins, pots, boilers, and plastics came in 1950 or thereabouts. And that finished our way of life within that one. I come over here in 1959 as a young lad.
You don't find no gypsy. You can't tell me a travelling gypsy that ever dies with TB, asthmatical, or bronchital. They've all got lungs like a bullock. It's the open-air treatment. In a town, you're eating nothing only filth and dirt. You're breathing nothing only filth and dirt.
My own home is directly underneath the flyover. From that, we get a lot of fumes come down the dock of us. You can wash it every day, and you still take a big black scum from it, daily from it, that's from the fumes. It has affected our health in a big way. A lot of people, not just kids, have a lot of chest problems.
Gypsy, tramp, deserter, crook. The young man with a grievance and the old man without hope. But you don't have to be out on the city pavements to feel that sense of emptiness and loneliness. For example, there are the people who can't sleep.
At the third stroke, it will be 2 and 10 seconds.
What I've been bad at is letting myself think obsessively about whatever problem it is or whatever it is that's stopping me sleeping, or letting myself get completely stressed about the fact I'm not sleeping. Invariably, it's incredibly quiet. There's an eerie quietness. You sort of get to 2 o'clock and you'll hear people coming home a bit drunk. Then you'll get to 4 o'clock and it really is absolutely silent, except for, the occasional sounds of the odd animal or something. And that's quite a strange feeling when you get to sort of that time of night where you've got nobody coming home from clubs, everybody else is in bed asleep. Absolute silence reigns in a way, and that's weird. That feeling that you should be asleep and you're not, and everybody else is.
Clouds are drifting across the moon. Cats are prowling on their beat. Spring's a girl in the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town.
How drab and cold the streets are. Somewhere in the city, a small company of nuns are in their chapel, chanting the midnight office, as they've done here every night for more than 100 years. They're called Poor Clares. Once they enter this convent, they're completely shut off from the world. They never leave it again. Their life is one of almost uninterrupted prayer and austerity and seclusion. We stood in a room next to the chapel, a priest and I. We couldn't see the singers. They couldn't see us.
I can remember one old nun telling me that she had often seen jet planes pass across the convent garden, and yet she'd never been in a motor car. She knew all about the aeroplane, and yet you had to sit down and explain the motor car to her. See, the world, you can come to her, the jet plane came to her, but she can't go out to it. And that's the whole point about this law of enclosure. They are right in the very center of the world. They're very much with the world, and yet they never touch the world themselves. They're here, praying for a world that won't pray for itself.
I'm from a family of 4. I have 3 brothers. I'm the only lady of the family, so naturally my parents didn't like it, especially my father. The idea of his only daughter being a nun was quite beyond him, so he absolutely rejected the idea of me entering a convent. My brothers were absolutely disgusted at the idea that their sister, their only sister, was going to be a nun. They couldn't stand it. It was hard for them to imagine me being in a religious habit. And yet, once they knew that I do have the vocation and I do look serious about it, so they started to accept and say, well, let me remind you that they don't eat chocolate in the convent. They only eat vegetables. I was a little bit frightened about it, but now I'm getting used to it. I came here, I flew from New Zealand here during the daytime, so I don't really know the situation at night time, thankfully. But the noise, I could tell you, because I never used to this noise so much before. But even from inside the convent, sometimes you could feel so much noise outside going on in the world, and people shouting, and you think, oh God, good heavens, what's happening outside in the world? And then you suddenly feel, well, I'm in a convent, so you're not supposed to know anything outside in the world. And it's amazing how many things happening outside in the world, like prostitutions and drugs. And it's just, I think it's just the problem of modern times.
Trash.com.
They want to either pay a bill, or they want to know what the balance is, or they want to do a transfer. And once they've got that out of the way, then if they want to, they'll engage you in conversation. You do get the regulars that like to be called by their Christian name. They like the personal touch. They like you to be able to say, "Hi, Mrs. Jones, I have a customer. I won't tell you her name, but she has this thing called positive mental attitude. And she had a brain tumour, and she had the tumour removed, and she is an absolute inspiration. And she always says to me, are you all right today? And I go, yes, PMA, positive mental attitude. And she says, that's right. But over a period of, 3 years, I know about her ex-husband, I know about her son, I also know her dress size, I know where she goes to get her hair done. If she comes on and I don't speak to her, she always says to the operator, tell Joan I was asking. Can't get better than that. That makes the job. Lunchtime I go for a skip. Start work at 10. So I've worked 4 hours. By the time 2 o'clock comes, have a break 2 till 3. So before I have anything to eat, because you don't skip on a full stomach, I have about a 10-minute skip. A really strong skip, and then that gets your blood going.
It's a jungle. It's a place inhabited by 90% mugs and 10% crooks. A jungle.
Later, I got talking to someone from this so-called jungle. He'd be about 20. Very bright eyes. Oily black hair falling in strings over his face. A kosh boy.
First, tell me about your parents, will you?
Oh, they finished with me when I was only 8 years of age.
You didn't have much time for them?
No time. No time for anybody.
You reckon they didn't do anything for you?
Didn't do anything for me, only kicked me around the place. That's all the life I got.
Well, now look, apart from being wrong, isn't it stupid to go around like you do, armed?
Well, I mean, it's safer for us. I mean, that's it. That's in the game. You just can't go into a place and say, I want your money, and that's that. You have to fight for it. The same as anything else. They have to fight for the rights.
Have you nearly killed anyone?
Yes, a woman for a bag. She was just coming from the bank. I was in Dublin, and we took it off her. We had a job taking it off her. You know, the routine, the way they scream and that. But we eventually got her, and we nearly half killed her. She was in hospital for a long time.
But didn't you feel sorry for the woman?
No. I never feel sorry for anybody. Nobody feels sorry for me. Nobody likes those people, you see. They'll never give us a chance. That's what I'm used to now, you see, being kicked around. So I like it that way.
Far down below the pavements, the miners are at work. And then, only a few yards below the roadway, there are the great sewers of the city. The sewermen are dressed rather like miners. Their work is pretty much as dangerous.
Always keep on improving, and you climb up the hills someday.
Tommy. It's Tommy that's singing. He and his mate are having a break. I said to him, I thought the public probably didn't appreciate the dangerous and necessary work of the sewermen. He agreed.
It's all right, people looking at us in the street with these waders on and walking past with the fingers to the nose. We've got to do these jobs, and we no time to hold our fingers to his nose. We have to get stuck into it and get shut of it.
And with that, he started work again, still singing.
Always keep on a moving in the good old way. Always keep on improving.
I'm a senior manager for Tube Lines, and I've worked here for about 20 years on and off.
Okay, my name's Ian, I'm your protection master tonight. I've booked between Oakwood and Southgate on both roads. The work we're doing is cutting rails. Callback time in the morning is 04:30, yeah?
I'm a bit feisty at times, like socialising, eating, going out. When I get a chance on my nights off, but my hobbies work, basically. I'm a workaholic. Relationships don't really work, haven't really worked for me, because if the phone goes at 2 in the morning, I'll get up and answer it. And the phone's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's pretty hard for your partner to keep nudging you and saying your phone's going off, especially if I don't hear it. And then after a while, when it becomes repetitive, then it becomes very difficult. Very difficult. And if I wanted to change that, I'd have to change my job, which I'm not prepared to do.
Below or above ground, life goes on. In the hospital, an iron lung is saving life, pounding away like the heart of the city itself. In the casualty ward, the night sister interviews a man who'd been found lying in the street, apparently ill. But of course, there's a possibility that he only wants a free bed.
Where were you going to sleep tonight?
I was making my way for home and
Where is your home?
Milton.
What's the trouble?
Pains in my stomach here.
How are you going to get to Middleton? Were you walking?
Yes.
It's a long way, isn't it?
Not very long way.
The night sister says, people don't realize what the city can be like at night. Sometimes you feel weighed down by the misery and cruelty. You must have faith.
I mean, there's such a thing as prayer, you know, and you'd be surprised that prayer does help you. I mean, it's the thing that's laughed and scoffed at, I know. But I personally, as a night sister, find out that prayer does. You've not got to carry it on your sleeve.
Could I have a domestic to triage, please?
I got into nursing by pure fluke, really. Me and my best mate at school, we decided to play a prank on everybody. The prank was that we were going to apply for nursing and fish farming as a wind-up. Anyway, they wrote back and offered me an interview. So I came over to England, had a whale of a time. Again, didn't think anything else of it because I wasn't interested in doing it. And then they offered me a place. So that's how I've ended up doing this. True story, true story.
Could we have a casualty SHO to resus, please, now?
We have an emergency phone here, and we phoned it and said that there was a patient coming in that had been decapitated. I went into the back of the ambulance and they covered me up in a gown and that, and we got one of the doctors to go out. It seemed like ages because the others could see me breathing. But she just didn't cotton on anyway. Just as she was about to lift the blanket, obviously I jumped up, and she literally ran and leaped out the ambulance. So yeah, that was her embarrassing tale for her set of nights. I've always been very realistic. I'll do the best for patients. I accept that some patients are going to be unwell. I accept that some patients we see are going to die, and I accept some patients just don't need our treatment, but they're going to be here anyway. I know it sounds very harsh and callous, doesn't it, for a nurse to say, but people do die. And me dwelling on somebody passing away isn't going to change the fact that they have passed away. That sounds horrible, doesn't it? But that's the way I work.
Soon, in a couple of hours, it'll be dawn. And in its one light, there will be the workaday city again. Drab, dreary, but yet full of scurrying people, some of them with astonishing gifts. People who can split the atom or weigh the footprint of a fly. And meanwhile, the indifferent moon looks down on the wilderness of the city night.
Drifting across the moon, cats are prowling on their beats. Spring's a girl in the street at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town. I'm going to buy a good sharp axe, shining steel, tempered in the fire, will chop you down like an old dead tree. Dirty old town, dirty old town.
Two portraits of life in urban Britain after dark, one from 1955, the other from 2005. Night in the City was produced by Sam McAllister and the editor was Hugh Levinson.